Welcome our next guest, author of the new book, Do What You Said You Would Do, Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio. Congressman, always good to see you, my friend. Look, help us break down what is happening to this nation that we love. Really, things just falling apart in the administration that just doesn't seem to get it.
You know, great monologue you had there. Look, the world is a safer and better place when America leads, with the values that make our country special. When we lead, and I always say you can't lead militarily, you can't lead diplomatically if you don't lead economically. And right now, all the economic signs are bad because the Democrats' economic plan is literally the dumbest plan I've ever seen. Right. Lock down the economy, spend like crazy, pay people not to work, and now this week they're getting ready to pass legislation for all those people who have been working. We're going to raise your taxes. Such a deal. So I thought right on target what you said. We don't have the respect around the world. We have messed up the border. We have messed up inflation. Crime is up in every major urban area, and on you can go with the Biden administration. And that doesn't even count what they're doing to our liberties, what they're doing to the First Amendment. You talked about the vaccine mandate and what the Fifth Circuit has ruled. So it's a tough time, but Americans will rise to the challenge, and we'll fight it back. Absolutely.
To that point, you talk about what's happening abroad, these decisions that we have made. We have gone from energy independent to energy dependent in record time. Yep. People have to forget it's less than a year on the job right now. We're already begging OPEC to drill for more oil. No regulations over there. They don't care about the environment, all in the name, allegedly, of improving the environment while we have hamstrung ourselves here at home. Talk to us about the dangers that makes for the world, particularly in light of what we saw with that pipeline going from Russia to Germany and the aggressions we now see from Russia and China.
Great point. And no one thought it could happen this fast. I mean, we're literally from 10 months ago under President Trump, energy independent country, to now where we are with Joe Biden. But last week in committee, one of the Democrat members of Congress, we had the CEOs of the big oil companies in to testify. A Democrat member from California went to each of the CEOs, Chevron, Mobil, we had BP, Exxon. He said to these guys, badgered him, will you pledge to decrease production? And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're badgering American companies to decrease production now, at the same time the President of the United States is begging OPEC to increase production. And I said to him, I said, what do you want, $8 gasoline for the families of this great country? So this is how out of touch they are and how committed they are to their leftist agenda and big government control. And the impacts obviously are felt by regular Americans, like I get the privilege of representing in the 4th District of Ohio. But the good news is the American people, I think, are waking up. Right. We saw this play out in Virginia a week ago. They're saying, time out on all this BS. We don't like this craziness that we see, and we're going to push back, and God bless them for doing so.
Absolutely. I think people never forgot the fact that the largest constituency is not Republican or Democrat, but parents. Yep. I think we might soon find out that an even more robust constituency that doesn't take any wooden nickels are going to be seniors who might find themselves going bankrupt, trying to pay for those heating costs this winter, trying to make sure they can actually keep enough food on that kitchen table because that fixed income is shrinking as a result of this drunken spending that we see down in D.C.
Everything costs more. You want to buy a home, it's going to cost more. You want to rent an apartment, it's going to cost more. You want to put food on the table, which we all obviously have to do, it's going to cost more. If you want to put gas in your car, going to cost more. You want to buy a turkey for Thanksgiving, going to cost more. You want to buy Christmas presents, going to cost more, is costing more, and Americans understand it. So, yeah, they're going to push back. It turns out when you run a campaign where you have 30-year high inflation and you tell parents that government's smarter than them, voters don't like that too much. And they spoke up loud and clear. And when you tell people in urban areas, we're going to defund the police, turns out voters don't like that too much. Right. And they say, no, we're not going to tolerate that. So that is the good sign. And this country, the people of this great country have always risen to the occasion. I think we're going to do it again. We're going to fight back the left. I think we're going to put Republicans back in power next November, and that'll be good for the country.
Absolutely. I want to talk specifically about the driving cause of all of this, that spending down in D.C. We had this spending bill that was passed, unfortunately, with the support of 13 Republicans. On some basic level, how do we get more and more people to recognize that the administration is engaging in what I like to call the new voodoo economics, right? They seemingly don't seem to recognize that when you keep spending money we don't have, it causes the inflation. Ironically, the president just announced he recognizes there's inflation, all while insisting that more spending will somehow help curb it.
Yeah.
It makes sense of that for me because all of us here in the real world don't understand how the D.C. fuzzy logic actually gets things to where they are today.
You can't make sense of it. It's and they don't believe it. I mean, unless they're, I mean, maybe they're that crazy. But John Yarmouth, to add to what the president said, yeah, we're going to spend more, and that's going to help inflation. No one believes that. I don't even know if the president does. But John Yarmouth, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee, the Democrat chair of the Budget Committee, this about a month ago, he said, no, we don't have a deficit or debt problem because we can always print more money. And I'm like, you're the chair of the Budget Committee, for goodness sake. So American people get it. The left doesn't, which makes me think this is intentional. They can't believe the stupid things they're saying. It has to be intentional what they're doing to our border. It has to be intentional what they're doing to prices. And I guess I come to that conclusion because this is just where the left wants. They want more control. They are on this accelerated march to communism, which is frightening, and it's why we have to fight them, and it's why what you're doing is so important, pointing out these truths and these facts to the American people.
Absolutely. Well, I think also brings us to some of the things you talked about in your book, right? Again, finding ways that we can, outside of our even normal scope of influence, to bring that message of truth and prosperity to the American people. Yeah. Talk to us about the inspiration for writing that book, why it's so important right now, particularly, again, as we see the betrayal of sovereignty on our southern border with, again, not just the people coming across the border, but the fentanyl-laced counterfeit drugs that are killing our young people in small towns all across this country, mothers, fathers weeping because we don't have the political will to do what we know is required.
Yeah, well, the title is real simple. I say we make the job too complicated. What did you tell the voters you were going to do when you put your name on the ballot and you ran for the office? If you win, do what you said you would do. In the history of this great country, only about 12,000 people have ever had the privilege to serve in the United States Congress. Right. If you get that opportunity, if you get that privilege, go do what you told the voters, what they elected you to do. And I write a lot about in the book, the guy who did that better than anyone was President Trump. Did more of what he said he would do than anyone else, and the opposition he faced. So I try to take your viewers, if they read this, they'll get a behind-the-scenes view of what it was like to interact with President Trump and that amazing presidency he had, all the attacks from the left. I get into some stories a lot about the impeachment when my colleagues stormed the bunker in the basement and I was already in there because we were doing the depositions and Adam Schiff gets all mad, and so there'll be interesting things there, and we talk about freedom. I mean, the formation of the Freedom Caucus and how that started, why we did it, and I tell folks I wrote every single word of it. I'm old and old-fashioned, the old yellow legal pad out longhand, and so it's available for pre-order now. Will be out in 10 days.
Well, I'm